Drink Different with Dr. Wolf, the change agent.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's about 5 o'clock here in Los Angeles. It's 6, 7, or 8 o'clock where you are. The day after the Super Bowl. They say, I think 90 million people watched the Super Bowl. One of the news shows yesterday said 900 million people watch the equivalent for soccer every year in the world. 900 million people. So it's our, and I think, most profitable sport, but not one the rest of the world goes into. But there's a lot of controversy around football these days. There's Obama's statement he wouldn't let his son play football. All these issues for union formation among the NFL players and getting their health benefits and all of that. And it brings me, as most things do, back to the idea of emotional intelligence. Now, how do you decide if you let your son play football or not? Here it is. Maybe you played football. There's a lot to learn from football. Teamwork, coordination, focus, athleticism. It's a good team sport. Why not let your kid do it? It's all these pansies that are saying we shouldn't let our kids play football. So how do you decide? And what does it have to do with emotional intelligence? Well, let's back it up a little bit. What does emotional intelligence teach us? Part of emotional intelligence, there's 4 dimensions of emotional intelligence that I've identified. One is self-awareness and the ability to communicate so you feel understood. So that means, now, some people don't even know when they're having an emotion or a feeling. It's just shut down. Back in what I mean, as a little bit where we raised. Other people know what they're feeling. You know, they can know what they're feeling, that they're having a feeling, but they don't know what it is. They just say, well, no, it doesn't quite feel okay. I'm not quite okay. Something's off. They don't quite know what the feeling is. Other people know what they're feeling. They know exactly what they're feeling. But for some reason or another, they're unwilling or unable to express their feeling. And other people know what they're feeling and are able to communicate it so they feel understood. So the first dimension of emotional intelligence is self-awareness and the ability to communicate so you feel understood. And you can get emotionally smarter. What that means is you can become aware that you're having an emotion. You can learn to identify the emotion, and you can learn how to express the emotion. So the second dimension of emotional intelligence is other awareness, and now you're aware that other people are having an emotion. And
Oh, it seems we've lost connection with Doc, but we'll have him right back. Doc, are you there? Hey, Doc.
Hello?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay. So I don't know where you lost me. The idea that what does emotional intelligence have to do with whether or not you decide it's okay for your son to play football? Okay. Before I answer that, let me go to another hot topic. What about automatic weapons with armor-piercing bullets with supplemental magazines are up to 100 bullets, okay? Now, even though there's a huge percentage of people that think it's ridiculous to allow that kind of stuff
out in the streets. That's military hardware. The NRA and a couple of them, I don't know how many millions of people back home, say, no, we don't want to limit that. We want everybody to have an automatic weapon with armor-piercing bullets. Now, what does that have to do with whether you let your son play football? Okay. What I'm seeing is the relationship is people make decisions based on their feelings. Feelings will influence us in most of the major decisions in our life, rather than thinking. But there are some decisions that would be better made, I think, by thinking. So let's go to the football thing. If you think about it, and you think about what the research shows about impact, head, neck, especially before the body is formed by the age of 12 years old. I had a conversation with a young man just 2 nights ago who was on a championship team in college. And he said that the average back is going to connect with his head. The head is like a weapon. He is like a weapon, using his head as the knife, the tip of the weapon, 500 times in a season. He says that's fact. And they do it in practice, 200 times in games and 300 times in practice. Now, the NFL, the pros, they don't use their heads in practice, according to him. So now you got a college player, still in formation, young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, body still forming, 500 direct head-to-body impact. Sometimes you're going against somebody coming at you. Now, do you think that's a good idea? Would you like that to happen with all these minor concussions and the indications of premature onset of Alzheimer's and all these things? So if you think about it, then you see at least you're informed. And if you think it's worth taking a chance for your kid to fry his brains with mini and major concussions, then by all means, you should be able to let your kid sign up for football. But many people don't think about it. They just have a feeling about it. They just have a feeling about it. They don't want to change the way they've been doing it. They play football. Football's a great sport. And I don't feel like we should do that. Okay. I think there's a difference between somebody that has a kid and has to think about it and somebody that just has a feeling and doesn't have a kid. Now, part of the problem is the way our society works is everybody gets to have their say. Same thing with the automatic weapons. I read that over 80% of the population would like some form of registration for gun control and limitation of magazine size or automatic weapons or the kind of bullets and all that stuff. And yet, even after all of the tragedies, Sandy Hook, there are thousands and thousands of people that have been killed using these weapons since Sandy Hook. There was always, not always, frequently a random lunatic running around in some mall somewhere. So we have it all the time. The feeling is, oh my God, we can't have any limitation. That's a feeling. But the logic seems to indicate that everybody would benefit from limiting that level of power, killing power, that can only be used against people. So we're influenced by our emotional brain in terms of a lot of issues that we decide lots of times during the day. I'm all for everybody getting a choice, actually. My problem is I don't think we get as educated as we ought to be, because we're so influenced. We're really influenced by what we hear and see around us in the mass media, not recognizing where the mass media comes from. That's another thing in terms of the voting issue. People will vote for people. What amazes me is people will vote for people who are not serving their best interests. It's almost like the religion you were born into. Pretty much, that's the religion you're going to stay with. It's a strong cultural belief. You're part of a tribe. It's your family. It's your tribe. And it's a big deal to leave that. I think more people maybe these days get disinterested in religion, but my guess is if you get reinterested in religion, you're going to keep the religion that you were born into. And that's connection. That's a strong reason to stick with a philosophy and an ideology. And it's based on feeling, and there's a lot of benefit. But it's not necessarily based on thinking. So we all get to decide, how do we want to conduct our lives? Sometimes we're going to be making decisions about thinking, using our thinking, and other times making decisions using our feeling. How do you know the difference? Complexity. Complexity. How do you know how to guide your way through life? There was a situation, you could call it that I had many years ago in my first marriage. I got married at age 22. And I was a young graduate student in psychology. I was, Mr. Sigmund Freud Jr. I used to wear three-piece suits and smoke a pipe. And I prided myself on my ability to know what was going on in people. So I got married, and my wife at the time was having an affair with another guy that I knew, Claude Beller. She was having an affair with Claude Beller. Her name was Beth. Now, I found out after about 6 months, and what really got me, of course I was upset, and it was, an emotional opening for me that was very important for me in my life. It was an emotional basket case, and pretty much seriously put myself into my own personal therapy. At the time, I said, look, to myself, I am absolutely nuts. My emotions are all over the place. I should find out if this therapy stuff has anything working or not, because damn well need it. And if I'm going to do it for other people, I ought to know it's real. So that's another story. So I realized that my most intimate companion was living a lie. For 6 months, she was having this affair. And here I am, priding myself on my ability to know, my emotional intelligence, my other awareness. So my best friend was living a lie, and I didn't know it. That meant, now I could have judged her and blamed her and all of that, but really where I went was, I have no idea what's really going on. I can't trust that part of me that I thought was so knowledgeable. I can't trust my feelings. I can't trust my judgments about other people. Because if I can't accurately assess this woman, my most intimate companion, my best friend, for 6 months, that means I don't know what's going on. And so it took me a couple of years, because then I started asking myself the question, how can I know what's going on? I have to have some ways of knowing inside of me. There must be some way of knowing. Whatever it was that I was using, that I had so much trust in and faith in, wasn't accurate. So I could no longer trust myself. And it took me a couple of years. I was in Carl Jung was a famous psychoanalyst. I was in Jungian analysis for several years, deeply immersed in self-exploration, attempting to really get to know myself. And I finally got a handle on how to know. What am I going to do? How do you guide yourself through life? There was a Bob Dylan song. I'd love it if you played it one time, Mr. J. It was called You Gotta Serve Somebody. I remember the refrain. It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you gotta serve somebody. We all have to serve somebody in our lives. Some way of knowing that we internally trust.